You have been through life, who have seen much more than me. What can I do to be happy? A very sincere question. Perhaps children will do us otherwise. Maybe they still don't know how to formulate like this. Mother, father, what do I need to be happy? Maybe even today after being grown. We still don't have the courage to ask with all this clarity. We asked other modes, right? Sometimes we ask wrong. Sometimes we ask how we do to be happy through our mistakes. It is interesting to identify that in many falls, in many human vacillings, there is an attempt to be happy. Is not true? Have you ever tried it? You know very well what I'm talking about. It has already experienced the pain of not being happy at the moment you sought to be. Is that so? Life is made of weaknesses. We are made of weaknesses. We don't always choose the right way. The important thing is to ask the child's question to remain alive within us. By the way, I think it's a big challenge is that we keep the child who asks inside us alive. It is interesting that when a child is living the process of discovery of the world, he experiences the philosophical dimension of life, right? You've seen that kids like to ask, right? The phase of whys, right? Why that? Why is that? And happy of the child who lives with people willing to answer these questions. Sometimes we talk, shut up the mouth, boy. It's blind. It is the philosophical phase that we can kill in a child when we are not willing to welcome their questions. Even today, talking to a couple of friends, they talked about the difference of the eldest daughter to the youngest daughter. They say that on the 2 anniversary of 2 years, the girl did not want to wear the dress her mother had prepared, because she always had a very strong desire. From a little girl, Petitinia, she already showed that she had. She manifested what she wanted. I don't like this dress. Ready, and it's over. And at the age of 2, have you ever imagined that? And then he says she put on the dress she didn't want and didn't look at her mother's face throughout the party. Oh, imagine a 2-year-old child. And then I was telling this friend of mine, who is the mother of the child, I said, you can have a big human being indoors, right? Because it has a strong temperament. This girl knows what she wants. But here, guys, it is so determined who will live with this child to help strengthen this. Will the right way, right? Without this will becoming arrogance, or even disobedience. It is much more difficult to live with a child who has keen intelligence, who has a willpower already very present in his personality since he was very young than with a child who is more submissive. So it will take a lot more work to be the father and mother of a child who already demonstrates these philosophical skills and this willpower from a young age. Because we can kill all this entrepreneurship that sometimes this child already has within him, who demonstrates, yes, I don't want this haircut, Dad. I don't want this haircut, Mother. Respect me. It's hard. It is not. It's hard for those who are a parent. It's hard for those who are a mother, because we still carry those things that we have suddenly learned from our parents, with our grandparents, that the child is your unfolding. It is an extension of your body that you have the right to control as you want. No, love is this ability that we have to live with the difference, to equalize it in a harmonious way, so that it is not disrespectful to parents, but at the same time you feed this child who already has the strength to demonstrate what he wants, what you think. It's healthy. That's why we will keep this philosophical child who questions, who passes the end of his sieve all that he sees, everything he examines. Why am I saying this, my people? Because we are living a week in a typical Brazil. We are seeing, from a dissatisfaction of a city like São Paulo, dissatisfied with the readjustment of 20 cents of a bus ticket, this gains the proportions it is gaining. A serious movement, of course, always has the chaff in the middle of the wheat, those vandals who want to destroy. But we cannot. We can throw a movement in the trash. We need to identify that what prevails there is the desire to manifest that the child is alive within us, that we want to question, that we are tired of living within a country where corruption prevails, where we are overloaded daily with tax rates that never return to us, because it would be no problem to pay the taxes we paid in Brazil as long as we had the return of this tax. Now, we paid. And what do we get from what we pay? We have no road. If we want good roads, we have to pay the toll. If we want health, we have to pay a good plan. If we want good education, we have to pay a college for our children. Or, in the public college, our children cannot enter, because we had no money to pay the private elementary and high school that could qualify them better. In this country that launders money in front of our eyes all the time. This monthly country, where people get unpunished, where the crimes prescribed is against it all. The 20 cents were just a tip that showed us that we are bothered by the decisions that are made without our participation. And how beautiful to see the philosophical child who questions and wants a better country, who wants to be happy winning the body in a country that is so often dormant and entertained with his carnivals, his football games, with his mass cultures. And often without generating a responsible political conscience that makes us want this happiness. Not only ours, but of the other. Because it was beautiful. Most of those protesters are talking on behalf of those who ride by bus, nor take buses. Most of those protesters are jointly assuming the suffering of those who are suffering from increasing the passage. I don't walk by bus, but I will express my support to those who are once again overloaded with increases. The philosophical child that makes us think, go around, want, wish an ever better country. It's our turn, my people, to demonstrate to governments, and we are not talking about a party dimension. No. It doesn't matter if the government today is the PT, if it's the PSDB, if it's the PSB, if it's the PMDB. What we want is a government that takes care of the people. What we want is that our money will be returned for the benefit of the people themselves. What we want is a fairer country. And there, at that moment, when we allow the philosophical child to win the streets because he decided to question, we can discover a homeland that knows how to welcome our manifestation. Because we want a better world. And this is evangelical. Jesus' proposal is a natural way to happiness. It's not self. Help not, see? Because Jesus' proposal is not magical. It is a change of mindset, as Sao Paulo said very well, and Father Zezinho in this song, in a fantastic way, puts us from the perspective of Christianity as in assuming the posture of Jesus. Think how Jesus thought, love how he loved living as he lived, feeling as he felt, having the totality of our being permeated by feelings, thoughts, posture, and life of Jesus. Have you ever wondered if all our rulers were truly Christian? That they did not wear the mask of Christianity only for their election? You have already wondered if our governments, instead of seeking populist measures that only maintain eternal power, was really concerned about the formation of the human being, the capacity, with life, with the awareness of this people. Is not true? This is religion. This is the responsible political dimension that every religious discourse needs to permeate. It is the change of mindset. Can I not admit that my Christianity is a facade? I don't have the right to go to the streets to protest against impunity, against corruption, if I promote all this corruption and this impunity in minor measures in my life. This is where Christianity touches us. This is where the philosophical child needs to act. Every day at night, this philosophical child needs to take care of us. She needs to prevail against all the hypocrisies that throughout the day perhaps have taken over our lives, and then ask us about this Christianity. If Christianity we practice is a Christian Christianity, because sometimes Christianity, this name, is far from Jesus' proposal. He is a facade. It is only shine, fire, which does not last long. And then the true manifestation is the one that occurs every day when you again commit to the gospel. You look at the life you lived, you honestly identify where you devised yourself. Where you didn't think like Jesus, where you didn't act like Jesus, where you didn't love it as Jesus loved. And then yours assumes the commitment to him. This is fertile Christianity. It is the one who puts us every day from a perspective of analysis and attitude posture, change of attitude. Today I am not going to sleep without allowing my Christian philosophical child, because I am baptized, question myself, about my choices, about what I decided to do, about everything I allowed to be my life today. Because I want to be happy is not true. You also want to be happy. And sometimes we are not happy is because we kill the child who reflects on us, who asks, why am I giving the child's example? Because of the music. And because of the indiscretion that every child has. The child is indiscreet, isn't it? She asks what our judgment often does not allow to ask. She is sincere. That is why Jesus said that he can only enter the kingdom of heaven who is like the children. He is not talking about childishness. He is not referring to a reckless way to live, in a childish, immature way. No. He is talking about the purity of the heart. He is talking about the lack of offenses, the courage to ask and interrogate, of the courage to be true, because no Christianity can be fruitful if he does not pass through the sieve of our truth. Is it being true what I'm living? Do I am more like Jesus today? Or is that just a speech that doesn't touch me? Is my manifestation today, right? Because the Christian, he lives in constant manifestation. Even though I don't go out in the squares to protest, our way of living has to be so coherent that it bothers you. It bothers in a good sense of provoking and the other a question. My God, how honest he is. Seeing God as he is true, how he does not bow to power, as he does not bow to what is not really in accordance with his convictions. He does not bow to anything that is not in accordance with the teachings of Jesus. He does everything with a lot of mercy, with a lot of harmony. But he does not bow. That's what we need, my people. It is urgent in Brazil today, in this Brazil that protests, in this Brazil that wakes up, a Christian stance that is constantly public manifestation, starting with Brazil, starting with our state, our city, our home. See how the great instances are being particularized until they reach us, in my house, and after my house, here in my heart.